This episode of Lawyers Tell All is brought to you by the Intake Academy. Are you ready to convert more callers to qualified cases, rapidly qualify good cases, and transform unqualified prospects to advocates for your firm, whether you're able to handle their case or not? Visit www.intakeacademy.com and discover how to cement relationships with more of your ideal clients. Get them to commit to you and send you more referrals than you ever thought possible. Welcome to the Lawyers Tell All podcast, where Chris Mullins, the preeminent sales and communications consultant in the legal industry, shows you how it looks through lawyers' eyes. Here, innovators in the trenches provide powerful insights that help you connect with new clients, handle the sometimes harsh realities of the legal profession, and embrace the mindsets needed to succeed. Be sure to visit our website at www.lawyerstellall.com. And while you're there, subscribe to us via your favorite network. Now, lean in, tune in, and let's take a deep dive.
Hello, everyone. It's Chris Mullins with Lawyers Tell All. And today I am interviewing attorney Chris Keller, and I'm going to let Chris introduce himself to you. Go ahead, Chris.
Well, first and foremost, Chris, thank you for inviting me to appear on your podcast. I'm super excited to be a guest. For those that may not know me, though, my name is Chris Keller, and I'm the founder and CEO of Keller Swan Injury Attorneys located down in Jupiter, Florida. Our firm practices primarily in the areas of personal injury and workers' compensation. We have offices in Georgia and Tennessee now.
Okay, cool. So just before we started, you said something about personal transformation. Let's talk about your personal transformation and how it kind of helped you professionally.
Yeah, this past year has been a transformative year for me. Back in November of 2022, a friend of mine asked me to jump on an airplane to go to a lawyers summit. And I went to this summit and heard from some great speakers and decided to join a business coaching program. Through that business coaching program, I attended an intensive, and it was all about your firm's vision. And I was like, firm's vision, I guess I have a vision for my firm, right?
Yeah.
And so in doing that, the speaker, who was an attorney, had us go through an exercise called the Power Five, your mental, physical, emotional, spiritual, and financial well-being. And had us put down on a scale of 1 to 10, where we're at in each of those categories. And so got on this plane, flew up there, was, taking it serious. And so I put some thought into it, put some numbers down, and I was probably overly generous with those numbers and realized I was struggling in a lot of those areas. And the speaker said, look, if you're not right in those areas, it's going to affect your business and it's going to affect your personal relationships.
Mm-hmm.
And for whatever reason, that was that aha moment. It was the thing that I just needed to hear to say, I need to make some changes and I got to start somewhere. So fortunately, right about that same time, my one of my paralegals, who is now my office administrator, had came back from a workshop, and it was about the miracle morning and the power of getting up early and having a morning routine. And she asked me to read the book. Before I made this transformation, I would have probably said, yeah, read a book. I'm going to read a book. But I took it seriously and I read the book. And I said, well, this sounds like kind of a good place to start, right? Let's start getting up early. So I set my alarm for 5 a.m. I started getting up and spending some time in meditation and silence, journaling, reading, and started doing a little bit of exercise. And a few weeks later, I started going out for a run. My first run was 0.67 miles. I think I walked half of it. So I don't know if we count that as a run or not. But the next day was just go a little bit further. The next day, let's just go a little bit further. And it's really where it all started for me. And so over this last year, I started running March 29th of 2023. And I ran my first half marathon in December of 2023. And I ran my first full marathon in March of 2024. And right now I'm currently trained for a half Ironman, which is going to be on July 21st. And before that first run, I mean, the last time I did physical activity was probably in college. 40, I'll be 41 next week. So, quite a few years without any sort of activity. You know, I tried several times over the past few years to kind of get myself right, but, just never could get there. But then one of the other big things I did, Chris, that's been huge for me is I gave up alcohol. Uh, it was actually 14 months, 2 days ago that I've gone without a drink, and that's made a huge difference in my life as well.
Awesome. Awesome. No, when is your half marathon?
So I did that. I did the half marathon back in December
Oh,
of 2023.
so the
Uh,
Ironman, I meant the Ironman. When's that one?
yeah, the half Ironman is July 21st up in Sandusky, Ohio. So I'm training hard for that because obviously that's a 1.2 mile swim, followed by a 56-mile bike ride, followed by a half marathon.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Beautiful. That's awesome. That's awesome. So you got healthier. Everything's good there.
yeah, absolutely. And then that's what led to a lot of the transformation in our business.
Yeah. So talk a little bit about that.
Well, again, you know, through business coaching, I realized that I need to make some changes at my firm. And one of those biggest changes I had to make, which was, you know, the hardest one to kind of come to grips with was, you know, how to start delegating. You know, the firm had grown year over year and it was good, but I still wore all the hats. I was the chief marketing officer. I was the chief financial officer. I was the chief um, um, operations officer. You know, I was the CEO. I was everything. I wore all the hats. And so it was really like I was kind of the problem with the business. I was the thing that was kind of keeping the business from
Yeah.
going further because I was trying to do everything. I was trying to do everything. And so when you're trying to do everything, unfortunately, you end up doing nothing or very little. And the things that you do, you don't do so well. So one of the big exercises I went through was one of the delegation lists, and I went through this exercise where I sat down and I kept up with everything I did in a day. And I did
Okay.
that for a full week. And then he put a number beside each of those categories, identifying the things that you're good at that you enjoy
Yeah.
and the things that you're good at, but you don't necessarily enjoy. And then the things that you're not good at and you don't enjoy.
Yeah.
And when I looked at that list, there was so many things on that list that I was like, I'm not good at this and I don't enjoy it. And,
Mm-hmm.
and so I wonder why I'm going home every night miserable and unhappy and depressed. And the first thing I'm doing is grabbing a beer,
Mm-hmm.
is because I spent my entire day doing things that I truly got no joy out of and I wasn't very good at. And so I felt defeated every day. Every day was like, man, I just kind of lost the day. You
Mm-hmm.
know, back then I didn't start my day in a positive way and I didn't go through my day in a positive way. So how do you think my day was going to end? Not in a positive way.
Exactly.
And so when I went through the exercise, I realized that I needed to find some people to take those things off my plate that I wasn't good at and I didn't enjoy. And I started there and I started delegating. And so over this past year, I've truly almost delegated myself out of a job. Uh, there's somebody in my firm that does all those things now. And really I get to do these types of things, which is a lot of fun, which are the things that I really enjoy. And hopefully I'm good at, which is, you know, appearing on podcast, and I started my own podcast and, you know, currently trying to write a book. And so I'm doing the things that are those high level things that I truly enjoy. And I think I'm pretty good at.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So, like, what about your law firm? What are some of the big changes that have been happening with the firm?
Oof. So we went from when we first started the firm back in 2019, there was three of us that are partners and we had one assistant back then. And you know, every year we had some good growth, but from November of 2022, when we started the business coaching program and up and until now, we went from 18, 19 people when we started the program, and now we're at 60 plus. I think back then we had four attorneys, and I think now we're at 14, and we're currently interviewing for two more attorneys.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Any
So
other change?
some,
Any other changes?
I mean, that's a huge change, Chris. What are we talking
No,
about?
I'm waiting to hear about if there's any other changes that have
I
been.
mean, we went from 18 people to 60 plus people. That's a massive change. But what we truly did, and I guess the biggest changes that we made, and I joke with you, is that we elected a leadership team. We put a leadership team in place. And so we started there. We implemented EOS, with the entrepreneurial operating system,
Right. Yep.
and started having our weekly leadership team meetings, our quarterly planning meetings offsite, and our full 2-day annual meetings. And so that's really been what's allowed us to grow
Mhm.
and grow in a good way, is having that leadership team in place.
Mhm. Okay, and so what has to happen with, let's just say, the owner of a law firm for them to switch gears from um, just kind of like spiraling down to, flourishing? Like what? Because not everybody's going to have the same experience as you.
Yeah.
What would you say has to happen?
Well, it's truly that mindset. So when I look back at my life, I always had that limiting belief, right? The belief that, I couldn't do it. I wasn't good enough. There was too much competition. There's people that are smarter than I am, better attorneys than I am. All those excuses that we tell ourselves to, fear of change, just we're scared of the unknown. I've never led a law firm before. I've never grown a law firm to 60 plus people before. And so it's all that fear of unknown. So you tell yourself all these lies
Yeah.
and limit yourself so that, you don't ever, so if you're not successful, if you don't do it, you don't feel like that failure, that fear of failure. So really it just starts with a mindset change that, I can do this. And for me, it started with, simple things. For me, it started with the physical of just going out for a run, because again, that first run was 0.67 miles, and I think I walked half of it. The next day I went to the next mailbox. The next day I went to the next mailbox. And guess what? Now I'm running a half marathon. So I proved to myself that something that, I thought I could never do, that never a thought in my mind, right? That I never believed or ever thought I would ever run a half marathon. I've lost 50 plus pounds over the last year as well.
Mhm.
But I just, I'm not a runner. I don't run. I don't like, who likes to run? You tell
Yeah.
yourself all those things. So for me, it started there. And so when I started running and I started seeing progress and I started seeing improvement, I was like, oh, hey, this is kind of, this is good. I started following a training plan. The training plan says on Monday you do this, on Tuesday you do that. And you start following that programming, like every day you start seeing a little bit of gains and a little bit more progress. And like, all right, well, what if I apply this to my business? What if I had a plan for my business? And and I set out to follow this plan, what could happen?
Mhm.
And it really for me, it was a mindset shift that you just had to make, had to decide in your mind that, hey, I can do hard things.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Well, so like yourself better than anybody. What do you know about yourself that I gotta keep, I gotta make sure I keep doing this, because if I don't keep doing this, then everything will explode. Like what is that thing that I can't stop that?
it's easy. It's the morning routine. It's really waking up early, having that time to myself every morning where I can sit in silence. As crazy that sounds, like sitting in silence, shutting off all the noise is just an amazing thing. Meditating, really just kind of getting lost in your mind and silencing it all out is just, it's such a powerful tool. Journaling, being able to write your thoughts down and put it on paper, read over it, reflect on it is just so powerful. One of the things I do is practice gratitude. I write down every day the 3 things I'm grateful for. And I actually was challenged to do a 20-day or do a 30-day challenge where you had to put up 20 new things. So I couldn't say like family every day.
Yeah.
I had to come up with 20 new things. So practice gratitude, exercise, getting out for a run, or a bike ride now, or a swim, or both, or all 3. But really that morning routine's a thing that if I don't wake up early and I don't have that time to myself, it truly throws everything off. Like I've tried, there's been days I'm like, what, I'm tired. I'm going to sleep in today. And I wake up, later and I just don't feel right. I'm off. My whole day is off. And so that morning routine really is what, energizes me, fuels me, gets me ready for the day, fixes that mindset. It's my thing.
Yeah. So is that like when the times that you haven't done it, um, are you basically having a lot of bad self-talk? Like, like, okay, here, and then you just spiral down for the day, or
Yeah, fortunately, I haven't let the days compound. So, maybe I've taken a day off, but I've never taken 2 days off. Right. And so I don't think I've made it that far where I just know that I just don't feel myself if I don't get up early and spend that time alone and spend that time in thought and kind of get that out. It just, it's just like I feel like I'm probably battling the day more than winning the day. But fortunately, I see that. And so the next day I'm like, I'm getting up, right? I'm not going to let 2 days, if I compound that and I let, one day become two, two becomes three, three becomes and
yeah,
so forth,
right.
I go down that spiral and I just know that, I can't let that happen. So I've never let it get so far that I can tell you that it's bad. I can see I can just feel like, oh, I'm starting to have those battles again. And I don't want to fight those battles every day.
Yeah. What does your family say about this whole thing here? What's going on? What did they say? Tell me what your family's saying.
Well, I'll tell you, that's been, one of the best parts about it. So fortunately for me, my kids are 8, 5, and 4. I have 3 kids. I have 2 boys and a little girl, and they're still young. And I think one of the hardest things for me to have to hear, but a good reminder and something that keeps me motivated and inspired to keep, moving forward and doing this is that my wife had to tell me, I'm so glad that our kids will never know that other guy. That they were young enough that they're not going to remember, some of your behaviors and the things that you did. And so that's tough, right? It's tough to
Yeah.
hear. And one of the things I told my wife when I started making these changes, it was a really tough thing to have to tell my wife is like, we've been married 16 years now, been together 18 years. And I had to tell her a year ago, I said, look, I've never given you my best, and like, how hard is that to have to tell somebody?
Ah,
And I told that to my firm too. I came into work and I looked at I called a team meeting and I told everybody, I said, listen, guys, I've never given you my best. And why is that? Well, it's because I was never at my best. You can't give your best to people if you're not at your best. And so when I started working on myself and now I've moved much closer to that level 10 self, am I there? No. Are we ever there? I don't know, but I'm always going to strive to be there. But all I know is that if I'm putting that work in every day, I'm growing every day, I'm increasing those categories, I can give my all, my best to my wife, to my kids, and my firm. And so, it's been a huge difference in my house. For example, this weekend was Memorial Day weekend. And I made it a habit to do the Murph every year, and well, the half Murph, let's say. And so, yesterday on Memorial Day, my 3 kids, my wife, and I did the half Murph together. We went out for a half-mile run, came back,
yep.
we did our sit-ups, push-ups, and we did a modified pull-ups. My kids can't do pull-ups yet, so we did some modified pull-ups and went back out for a half-mile run. So that's what my family does now, right? Is we're doing physical activity together, and so it's made a huge difference at home, both with my relationship with my wife and my kids. And what I'll tell people is, and I had to learn, it was a tough thing for me to learn, but you make this big change and you start doing things different. You're like, see, I'm all better. Just, why aren't you doing these things too? You should be doing all this stuff. And like, why are you not getting, and so, but what you have to realize is be patient. If you keep going, people will catch up. And, my wife is, it goes to the gym with me every day now. And, took some time, but now, we're in the best place we've ever been in our marriage, 16 years and married, 3 kids. We're in the best place that we've ever been in. And, my kids are happier and healthier for it as well. And they're growing up with me being this example of going and doing a half Ironman. One of the things I like to talk about was my second ever triathlon, which was a sprint triathlon here in Jupiter. My wife brought my kids so that when I came around the corner, I was headed toward the finish line, my kids were there. And
Uh,
like, how awesome is it for your kids to see
yeah.
you, complete this triathlon and go across this finish line versus coming in the front door, probably with a few drinks in me already. And then the first thing I do is open up a fridge and grab another beer. That shows you where my priorities were, that, getting a beer was more important than saying hi to my family. So,
Yeah.
it's just a much different world that I live in now than I did a little over a year ago.
Yeah, that's amazing. How has your communication style changed with the folks at the law firm? Like, how has that changed to, going into that place of being your best self?
Yeah, so a lot more open, honest, transparent. I believe in all that, and I've always believed in that. It's always been a core value. But when you're not your best self, and when you're sneaking out at 2 o'clock to go to the bar, because you're networking and marketing and all those things we like to tell ourselves as attorneys that are trying to build our businesses. Oh, I'm going to the bar. Well, it's because I'm going to network. I'm going to market. I'm going to meet referral sources.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Let's be honest with ourselves. We're going there because we need a drink. We want to drink. We enjoy that, and so we come up with all kinds of reasons. So when you're sneaking out to go to the bar and then you're out late, again, networking, going to late dinners and staying out late, and all these things that we do because we're networking, we're marketing. Uh, you you can't give your best. You can't, and then when you can't be honest with yourself, you can't be honest with your firm, and and so it really just derails it all. So now, I can be honest and open and transparent because, I'm proud of the person I am. I'm proud of the person I'm becoming. I'm proud of our firm and what we're doing. I'm proud of the amount of work, time, energy, and effort. I mean, I guess I can say this. I mean, people are going to hear this, but I don't think anybody works harder than I do at building this firm every day. Like, when I go to, before I go to bed at night, I'm thinking about how I can make this firm better. When I wake up in the morning, I'm thinking about how I can make this firm better. And every single day, that's what I'm working on. And so, used to, I was, making the firm better by marketing and networking, right?
Yeah, right. Mhm.
And by drinking myself, sick every night. So, but now I truly give my best efforts every single day to whatever I'm doing. I give my full attention. And so we have a lot more meetings, a lot more dialogue and open communication. So it's been huge.
Okay, well, I'm just looking at the time, make sure we stay time bound. I got to ask you about intake. How's intake going these days?
Well,
I got to ask you about intake. I can't hang up about that.
right. So I was fortunate enough to have been recommended to you. And it's crazy how the world works and how things just kind of come together. When we met, my firm was, starting down this path of growth, but for the most part, all of our referrals were kind of direct referrals to us, and so we didn't really have to worry about like losing a case, and so intake was never really, a thought of ours, and so. But I knew I wanted to grow. I knew I wanted to scale. I knew I wanted to build something. I knew that, we had to have intake right. Without a good intake team, we weren't going to be able to do it. And so, you and I have had this conversation and talked about it. I kind of did things in some ways backwards from what conventional wisdom tells you, but probably the right way to do it, which is I decided to hire a consultant and work on intake before I worked on marketing. I think a lot of firms, a lot of people will say, well, let's make the phone ring. Let's get calls coming in and cases coming in, and then we'll go hire people to handle it. And I think I told you quite the opposite. I said, look, I'm not worried about the phone ringing right now. Let's just worry about getting intake right. Let's get our procedures down. Let's get our scripts right. Let's make sure that we know how to handle the call volume. And I think the one thing that you and I didn't think about together when we first started was maybe the volume of calls and how quick it would increase,
Yeah.
and what our signups had gone for. So I think I looked at the numbers the other day. I forget what the percentage was, but our call volume and our signups have gone up exponentially.
Oh,
I think when you and I first, kind of started working together, we were signing up, 50, 60 cases. Now
yeah,
I think this month we're going to exceed 150 cases.
exactly right.
I think our intake staff, we had one or two people when we started working with you. I think we're at like 10 now.
Yeah, right. It's been changed. And that happens
And-
all the time. As soon as it gets changed, then they need to do new attorneys, they need to do intake, they need to do paralegal, they need to do a case, all of it. So yeah, that's wonderful.
So intake was, it's going to be a work in progress, but I
Yeah,
know that we have the right team in place, especially with your help and your guidance, your leadership, that we're going to get it right. We're going to have some growing pains. I think if everything was running perfect, we'd probably be more concerned than knowing that we have a few problems, because we'd be like, oh, what are we missing here? Something, something, probably something's not good.
yeah,
But we spent a lot of time, energy, and effort on intake. I think you would agree that our firm spent a considerable amount of time on getting intake right.
yeah, 100%, 100%.
And I'll be honest, we truly couldn't have done it and wouldn't have done it to the level we had without your help. without having someone who's an expert in the area and bringing that expert in. Also bringing someone, I have to say, unbiased, that outside person from the firm. When you have people inside your firm trying to fix your problem, sometimes they don't want to tell you the truth, or sometimes they don't want to, or they're afraid to tell you the truth. They're afraid to call you out, or they're afraid to tell you, right? I know with our conversations, you're like, here's how it is.
We got a problem here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so we got that, the true, we know what's going on from you.
Yeah.
And it pays to have that person outside that's really, the expert in the area, and the person that can really say, here's your problems. It's okay. We can fix them. Here's how we're going to fix them, and then work through fixing it versus trying to figure it out on your own.
Yeah, 100%. What, like, I mean, you have the stage right now, and so you're talking to everybody. What kind of message would you like to give to other law firms, attorneys, that, let's just say that they're struggling? Like, what kind of final words would you want to leave them with?
I've thought about this a lot, and I think, honestly, truly, I want to be an advocate for inspiring positive transformation. I want my story to inspire others. So for me, I think the biggest thing I had to figure out is it took a lot of time and self-reflection. So it took a lot of time in that morning routine to really to get lost in that silence, that meditation, prayer. One of the big things I worked on this last year is spirituality. I grew up going to church. I grew up in youth groups. But you get busy in life and you make excuses for why you don't go to church, and so but spending that time in prayer and thought and meditation and silence, I really started thinking out, trying to figure out, who am I? Why am I here?
Right.
And so once I figured out my why and my purpose, things became more clear. And so what I would encourage everyone to do that's listening is to carve out that time where you can sit down alone in pure silence, sit alone in your thoughts, and really think about your why. What's your purpose? Why are you here? Why are you doing what you're doing? Why are you an attorney? Why are you a business owner? Why are you, figure it out. And so for me, once I realized that I truly want to inspire this positive transformation for both my team, my clients, and my community, and that's our vision statement, every day is so much better. I know every day that if I can just impact one person and make a positive impact on somebody's life, that I've succeeded in my day. It doesn't matter about how many clients called us and how many cases we signed up. It doesn't matter how much money is in my bank account. I was talking to my wife about this in a podcast. I said, used to, I was always chasing something, right? I was chasing the bigger house, the promotion, the nicer car, the boat, all those things you're always just chasing. And now I'm not chasing anything. And if somebody came tomorrow and took it all away from me, I'd be okay. I'd be just fine. And used to, if I lost something, man, I'd be devastated. And so, find your purpose in life, find that why for you, start making those little changes that are make all the difference. Wake up, 10 minutes earlier, 15 minutes earlier, get that time alone, get that time to yourself every single day. Work on yourself, because if you don't work on yourself, first, one thing I'll tell you, Chris, it's crazy. So today, I got up, I ran 6 miles. I took my kid to school. After school, I went to the gym. I got to the gym around 8. I lifted weights, and then I swam in the pool. And I didn't get to the office until 10:30. Now, a lot of people might be saying, "Hey, that must be nice. I wish I could do that." Well, number one, if you're the business owner, you can. Even if you're not the business owner, there's other ways to get your time in. But number two, that's me working on myself. When I'm doing that, I'm bettering myself so I can come to work, be focused, give my best to the firm, and I'm much more productive now. And so spending that time every day for me is super important. So find your why, find that routine, get up early, uh, start meditating, start journaling.
Mhm.
It's really, it truly will change your life.
Yeah, I think that's huge. And, even if you just start with show up for yourself, So maybe all the things that, like you're saying, journaling and gratitude, and maybe that's just not striking anybody. So maybe just get up and sit and just, have your cup of coffee and just sit and don't do anything. Don't worry about an agenda. Just show up and just keep doing that and showing up, and something, you'll have some forward momentum.
Yep.
Something will happen. It might take a while, but it'll just keep showing up.
And there's a lot of truth in that. You build that momentum. And so, but set the alarm clock just 10 minutes earlier. Just get that extra 10 minutes. Just get 10 minutes up earlier. It's a big difference. For me, I started getting up right at 5 as an hour early for me. Now I'm at 4:30. Some days it's 4, but if I'm getting up at 4:30, that's late for me. I've lost, time now. So, but it's not overnight. It doesn't happen overnight.
No,
Uh, it took me time to get there. It took a lot of hard work. But now I guess one of the biggest things I'd say about it too is that you create that discipline. So start somewhere. If it's just 10 minutes and you get up 10 minutes early, you're starting to create discipline in your life. One thing I realized, and this is something that you hear everywhere, but it's so true, is that when you go to bed at night, you may be motivated to get up in the morning to run, but when you get up in the morning and it's raining and it's
yeah,
cold and all these other things, that motivation goes. But what carries you through is discipline. And so I know that I have this routine and I have this thing that I got to do. And so if it's raining, if it's cold, it doesn't matter. I put on my shoes, I go out the door and I go get it done. And that's discipline. And when I didn't realize how I liked discipline in my life and how
yeah,
what discipline does to change things. So,
yeah,
create that discipline in your life. And then like you said, is that then you start getting that forward momentum. Once you create discipline, however small it is,
yeah, right, yeah,
just start somewhere. Just start with something super
yeah,
small. And that's the other thing I like to say too is make one small change. Like when every time that I've tried to make changes in my life before, I've tried to do it all right. I'm gonna eat better. I'm gonna stop drinking. I'm gonna start working out. I'm gonna,
yeah,
all these things.
yeah, yeah.
And I try to make all these massive changes and it never works. But
Hmm.
where I started was I'm just gonna wake up early. Let's
Yeah,
just start there. And I just started waking up early. I didn't start running right away. It was a couple weeks later. I just started waking up early. So I did 2 weeks of waking up early before I went out for a run, but I created discipline to wake up early. And now that was the fuel to say, okay, let's go out for a run. I'm up now. Let's go run. And then, so it was baby steps for me. I didn't start a diet. I didn't give up alcohol. I didn't do any of those things right away. The first thing I did was let's just start with waking up early and let's just create the discipline to do that. And then that's what allowed me to quit drinking.
yeah,
I've tried to stop drinking at other points in my life and it never worked.
yeah,
I always did it for the wrong reasons too. It
yeah,
was always out, usually out of a bad place, a bad experience. My wife yelled at me, gave me an ultimatum like, hey, if you don't stop drinking.
yeah, right,
And so it
yeah,
was a short-lived change. But once I created discipline and getting up and then discipline and going out for a run, it's like, okay, hey, look at this. I got some momentum here. I got some forward momentum. All right, let's try to tackle alcohol. Let's try to tackle alcohol.
yeah.
And 14 months later, here I am. I haven't had a drink, and I don't miss it. Don't want it. Don't need it. I don't. It's not who
That's
I am.
perfect. That's perfect. I think the only other thing that I'll add to it is that whatever whatever moment you are living in, that whatever, we'll just say your rock bottom is, whatever it is that you're living in, document it, because that's the thing, that's your trigger that got you to decide to go to the next step. You don't ever want to forget it, because we're human. We will have times when we kind of fall off a little bit and we won't remember. We won't remember the moment. So if you can go back and read it or hear a recording or something, you can get going again.
Yeah, and for me, that's the importance of journaling. By journaling every day and writing about what's going on in life, I can go back and kind of look at it. One of the things I do is I look at that level 10, or the power five, level 10 self. I put it down in my journal every month to start the month because I can see that progress month over month and know kind of where I was. And then I can see where I am and how I feel. And then that's that motivation
Yep.
that I don't want to slip back. I don't want to go the way. I don't want to feel like I used to. And
Yeah.
so writing it all down and keeping that journal is super big because I can go back and read, where I was a year ago today and say, wow. You know,
Right. 'Cause you don't realize it. Yeah.
The
That's
things that were going on in my mind a year ago that I was writing down, the struggles I was having a year
yeah,
ago that I was writing down. I'm like, wow, like I don't want to do that again.
right. It's amazing. Yeah. Well done. If anybody wanted to reach out to you or get in touch with you, how could they do that?
I would love that. I've had people from all over reach out now because I had a really good friend of mine whose brother-in-law is struggling
Oh,
with alcohol, but had saw my journey online and reached out. And so, but my favorite thing to do now is help people get through it. So I have an email address. My email is my first name, Chris, Chris, at it's now Keller Swan, Keller Swan, SWAN.com. Also, you can, look me up on social media, Chris Keller on Facebook and Instagram, Twitter, all those good stuff.
yeah.
Call my firm, Keller Swan, 561-295-5825. However you want to get a hold of me, I'd love to connect. I'd love to be able to offer any assistance or help or guidance, whatever I can do from what I've learned over the last year and really hopefully help make a positive impact.
Awesome. Well, thanks so much, Chris. It's been wonderful. Really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me. I hope I was able to answer some good questions for you.
You were. It's great. Thank you. All right, everyone. Chris Mullins with Lawyers Tell All. We'll see you again real soon. Bye-bye.
Thank you for tuning in to Lawyers Tell All, where Chris Mullins takes you on a journey with lawyers in the trenches who show you the realities of what it takes to succeed in this chaotic, crowded, ever-changing profession. Remember to visit our website at www.lawyerstellall.com and enjoy even more great episodes like this one. Again, while you're here, subscribe to us via your favorite network. We look forward to seeing you next time on Lawyers Tell All.